Hello friends, and welcome to the weekly moon update. My name is Allison, and in these videos we talk about the moon energy for the current week. In this video's case, we're talking about June 16th through the 22nd. We have a last quarter moon week because we had our big bright Sagittarius full moon last week. So this week is allowing us to slow down, to tie up any loose ends that we need to do for this moon cycle, and prepare for the new moon next week, where hopefully you can find some downtime to rest, especially because this is a Cancer new moon next week. So Cancer is all about self-care and loving and nurturing yourself. So let's jump into this last quarter moon week. So our last quarter moon is happening on Wednesday, and it's kind of in between Aries and Pisces. So it's kind of a Pisces last quarter, kind of an Aries last quarter. So that means the beginning of the week, we have our waning gibbous. And remember, the gibbous moon has a lot of energy still. A gibbous moon is more than half full. So there's a lot of light and a lot of energy still here at the beginning of the week, and even into the last quarter, because the last quarter is 50%. So you still have some light and you still have some energy. And then the rest of the week will be our waning crescent moon, where it will slowly decrease with energy, decrease with light, so that we have until we have our new moon next week. So a waning crescent moon is really when you want to start slowing down, and you might actually feel your energy a little bit low around this time as we're leading up to the new moon. So technically for the first half of the day on Monday, we have an Aquarius moon. So this is an air sign, and I like focusing on the energy that like really works for me, like focusing on like a fresh, clean start, because remember, Aquarius time of year is right after the new year. So we're starting things fresh, we're starting things new, and we're doing things differently. So it's a really nice way to start off a Monday. Versus around 2:09 p.m., the moon is going to move into Pisces, which is a little bit more sleepy, dreamy kind of energy. So Pisces season is like those last winter days where you still kind of feel like you're dragging. You still feel that kind of like drowsiness from sleep. It's kind of like that in between sleep and awake time, like kind of this like in between dreamy sort of space. So it's not really ideal to start off your week with that energy. Even as much as I love Pisces energy, it's not really the most productive. So hopefully you're able to start off your morning like fresh and new, and have that carry you through the Pisces time, which is going to be for half of Monday, all day Tuesday, and most of Wednesday as well, because we won't move into Aries until 7:08 p.m. on Wednesday. I don't know. It feels like it, unless you're able to like get things done and be productive before lunchtime on Monday, the start to the week feels kind of slow. And then when we move into Aries, it's going to kind of jumpstart us with energy a little bit, even though the light and energy of the moon is decreasing. I always find that Aries just gives you that like little punch, almost like taking a shot of espresso, or like downing a cup of coffee and just like getting amped up really quick. So it kind of feels like a slow start Tuesday and Wednesday, but then once we move into Aries, you can kind of like kick into that like fire energy and close out your work week with, like, checking all those things off the list, using that fire, using that spark to, like, uh, put energy into the things that you need to put energy into. So we'll be in Aries energy for the evening on Wednesday, all day Thursday, and all day Friday. And then around 10:53 p.m. Friday evening is when we move into Taurus. And that's going to put you into your weekend mode of, like, slowing down and getting comfy and cozy on the weekend. So we'll be in Taurus energy for Friday evening, all day Saturday, and most of Sunday as well. We won't move into Gemini until 11:50. Oops. We won't move into Gemini until 11:57 p.m. on Sunday. So we'll be starting off next week with Gemini energy, another air sign, like our Aquarius air sign this week. And that Gemini energy is going to be closing out the Gemini moon cycle and the Gemini sun season. So even though we have a waning moon this week, the signs that the sun is moving in is that those early spring days. So it does feel like we have the potential to be, like, productive this week. And it has kind of like this fresh start to it, fresh start feeling to it, because all of the signs we're transversing through take us from Aquarius season is end of January, and then Taurus season is end of April. So it's taking us through those, like, first few months of spring this week. So the energy of this week kind of feels like that. It feels kind of like springy energy. So we are pulling our card from the Sisterhood of Seers Oracle, which is new to me deck. Came in the Hey House Card Deck Club box for summer. This is from the summer box. So we have pay attention to the signs. The essential meaning is being supported by spiritual realms, listening and paying attention to signs, and asking for assistance and forward movement. Spirit speaks to those who listen. So when you draw this card, it is time to pay attention to the world around you. Look up into the clouds. Do you notice how they change for you? The entire world is an oracle waiting to show you the best path forward, and Spirit will use everything and anything to get your attention. This card also comes to tell you that now is a good time to deepen your relationship to the spiritual world by learning about the many different forms of intuition, such as clairvoyance, clairaudience, claircognizance, and clairsentience. You can also speak to Spirit and ask for help with anything that you need. You are supported by many benevolent guides, and you are implored to ask them for assistance when you need it. Consciously choose to step into this relationship with the spirit world while also paying attention to your intuition. This card also comes to remind you to pay attention to any repetitive signs that you have been receiving. Even if you want something to work out in a very specific way, Spirit may be showing you an alternative or better path forward. This card acts as a reminder to listen and to act on the guidance you have been receiving, trusting in the unseen world. There may be conditions brewing in your life that you need to pay special attention to so that you can navigate them positively. This isn't something to feel nervous about. Rather, this is just a reminder to focus on what you are seeing so that you can navigate any change consciously, easily, and successfully. So the contemplation question is, how can I trust in my connection to my intuition and spirit more easily? A couple of things about this card. I love that question at the end. How can I trust in my connection to my intuition and spirit more easily? Because I recently had this instance where I was really struggling to get myself out of fight or flight mode, and I was just having all of these anxious thoughts, and like I was feeling so anxious that it was, like, making me, like, physically ill, like nauseous, and I just, like, I couldn't get myself out of it. And a lot of times, like, things that kind of bring me back to myself are things like divination or like pulling an oracle card or something. But when I'm in that much of an anxious, negative place, I find that like the readings that come through just aren't making sense, and then I get more anxious, and or they're not resonating because like the cards are picking up on that anxious energy and that negative energy. So that's like the messages that are going to come through. So it's important that like before we do these spiritual practices to find some sort of grounded and centeredness before we do those things, because you're going to get mixed messages, you're going to feel confused, and you're going to get messages that are vibrating on that anxious level. So it's not really helpful to getting yourself out of out of that anxious mode. I kept thinking over and over, like the visualization that I was getting when I was in these very anxious moments is from that movie Inside Out, of anxiety with all of her baggage. And she literally just has all of these things that she's carrying around. And I kept trying to figure out like, how can I put these bags down? How can I put these anxious bags down and like not carry them with me? So I think like, how can I trust in my connection to my intuition and spirit more easily is recognizing that like when you're in a low vibration place, you're going to be getting mixed signals and not accurate information from spirit. So to keep that in mind when you're in those moments, or remember that, like, because if like you'll start seeing negative signs, and you know that's just going to make you spiral even more. So recognizing that, I think like if you see a negative sign, recognize like, oh, I'm not in a good place right now. I should like try to figure out another way to help myself get grounded and centered so that messages are coming through clearly. The other thing that I want to say about this card, as we are closing out this Gemini moon cycle and this Gemini season, where I don't know if you remember, but at the Gemini new moon, the title of the video was Use Your Words. And so we were talking about speaking clearly, being affirmative with your intentions and with the things that you are asking for, but just to like to speak your truth, to express yourself freely, but also truly for the highest good of all. But we forgot to talk about, we talked about expression, but we forgot to talk about listening as well, and listening to other people's words, listening to the messages from spirit, and allowing yourself to get quiet enough to hear those things and to let that wisdom come in. So I think we kind of skipped over that part of paying attention and listening. So I feel like this card is kind of reminding us of that as we are making through this last week of the Gemini moon cycle and the Gemini sun season. So our crystal for this week is black kyanite, a powerful clearing and grounding stone that activates the Earth Star chakra. It clears negative energies from other stones and never needs to be cleared or cleansed itself. Black kyanite also helps you connect with spirit guides and access past life memories to see where your soul needs healing and retrieval. The affirmation of this card is, I am released from negative energy. I am grounded and replenished. So black kyanite is a really good stone when you're in those crazy, anxious thoughts, negative spaces. It literally is like a vacuum, and it just like sucks all the unwanted energy into it. And one of the most wonderful things about it is that it never needs to be cleared. I use black kyanite to clear all of my crystals, especially the ones that I use for clearing, like selenite, because selenite does need to be cleansed and cleared every now and then. All crystals do. But the message that I was getting with this card is that as we are in this waning and decreasing cycle, a waning moon cycle is for releasing and letting go. So if there is anything that you are letting go during this waning moon phase, black kyanite's really good for that, especially for like things that might be kind of stuck. They're like sticking in your energetic field, because like I said, it really does feel like a vacuum. It looks like a broom, but it feels like a vacuum. Oh, I do have one right here. It looks very much like a broom. And our chakra card for this week is Soul Path Intuition. Your path is unfolding in good and perfect time, and you are right where you are meant to be. No one is in your life by accident, and nothing has transpired without careful consideration and curation by spirit. Now is the time for you to trust this path and open yourself to deeper awareness of your purpose for incarnating in this lifetime. As you engage your Dharma and explore your purpose, you may be inspired or called upon to help others do the same. So this is a third eye chakra card. The crystal they recommend is tanzanite and the herb is poppy. So it seems like we are clearing and cleansing and releasing so that we can be receptive and receiving of information. Our oracle card is telling us to pay attention, and this third eye soul path intuition is helping us, I think, connect and align with that wisdom, while the black kyanite helps us to like release and let go. And I feel like we've been talking about this a lot lately of like, start recording the signs, just like kind of like how you would a dream journal or something. Write down the signs and symbols that you are receiving and decide what they mean for you personally, as well as like looking up what traditionally these symbols mean. For example, if birds or feathers is one of your symbols, writing down like what you feel like that means for you. Sometimes I think the signs are kind of not necessarily random, but I think they're just like meant to get your attention, like finding a feather on the ground or something, if that's one of your symbols. I don't think it's necessarily every time you find a feather that it's whatever feathers, what do feathers symbolize, that angels are watching you or whatever. I think it's just meant to, I think most of the time it's meant to get your attention, and it's up to you to figure out like what that might mean specifically. Like sometimes I think they're kind of just like little nods or winks to like, hey, you're doing a good job, or to nudge you when you're kind of starting to spiral into those negative spaces, to like nudge you back and remind you like, hey, spirit is here. You can like realign and start fresh and new. I hope you have a wonderful last quarter moon week and that you're ready to jump into Cancer season and the Cancer new moon cycle next week. Thank you so much again. I cannot wait to see you on the other side of the looking glass again sometime soon. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful last quarter moon week. Odin, what are you doing? Odin, what you doing? What you doing?